Matt, great to have you on. How are you today?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. So, yes, we established the fact that they did game plan for P.J. Hall, and he still had a really good game because he's a really good player. What were your
So
takeaways?
you're telling me that a coach who gets paid seven figures to win basketball games was aware of the best player on the other team?
Yeah, shocking, right? We were just as surprised as you. What were your takeaways from Tuesday night? Obviously, really good opponent. Tough environment. It's a tough day all around. It being senior night and whatnot. Clemson's the better team. They showed it on Tuesday. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, they're a better team. And Syracuse, we know this team has limitations, and they got exposed by a Clemson team that is suited to take advantage of them. I think Malik Brown, we can all talk about how great he is defensively, but there were a couple of times he just got eaten up by a really big, athletic, talented, skilled player in P.J. Hall. I don't think there's any shame in that. I don't think they were a tweak away from winning the game, and that's just kind of the way it is, That was going to be a hard one to win in any circumstance, and they didn't win it. And now you kind of move on to the next and see what they can salvage here in the ACC tournament. But I think Clemson's pretty good. I think they've got a lot of answers. Really good front court. Clark, Shefflin, Hall are as good a three-man rebounding team as I can think of, and I could see them doing. I don't know if they're going to do damage in the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure about that, but they're pretty tough to beat, and certainly a hard matchup for Syracuse.
Joe Gerard, surprisingly, handled himself with class. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to his post-game press conference afterwards, but he always handles it the right way, it seems like. And they were asked him about his decision to go to Clemson, and he talked about how he talked with Coach Boeheim about it, and Coach Boeheim gave him his blessing and said it was a good spot, and that he would thrive there. And sure enough, he has. I mean, can you speak to, I guess, the kind of year Joe has had, and especially these two games against Syracuse, right? A lot of pressure on him in both those games. He played great. He was a difference maker. Can you speak to, I guess, Joe Gerard, the player, and kind of put to bed once and for all, some of the negative comments that we hear around town about him and his play in his 4 years here?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it, might be rooted in jealousy. I mean, to me, just as an observer looking from the outside, I mean, this guy is a competitor. He's been successful at everything he's done. Is he exempt from a bad game, or is he the most perfect, complete player of all time? No. But think about his story quickly. If you didn't have the personal connection or the passion associated with it that you're alluding to, the guy who I wouldn't say is physically gifted really in any way is the all-time leading scorer in the history of the state high school basketball. He's a state champion quarterback. He comes to the biggest basketball program in the upstate, is one of the most successful players in terms, statistically, that they've ever had. He graduates, and because the rules allow for him to go somewhere else, he has the pick of a bunch of different options. He winds up in a place where what's the story? He lives on a lake, and he takes online classes, and his girlfriend's right there, and his parents are there when he wants them to be, and he goes out and has this great season. He makes the NCAA tournament and stuffs it to his previous school twice. And what's not we could all be upset that it didn't go Syracuse's way, but I don't think he's got anything else to prove about it, And when I say bumped into Joe pregame, literally bumped into him, and it was very brief. But, the guy's got an ear-to-ear grin, and I was happy to see everybody from Syracuse, Coach Saddle and myself included, and had a big fist bump before the game, and, hey, take care, guys. And, shoot, what's not to like? The guy's a great representation of college sports, and he's killed it for 5 years, and now he'll go on, and I would imagine he'll go as far as basketball takes him for a while and then find something else to do.
We all like to try and figure out, Matt, what's going to happen next. And the ACC tournament's next for this team. Does this team have a chance to go down there and win it? And second of all, Is there a guy on this team, we famously talk about that Jerry run. Is Judah Mintz maybe a guy that could do what Jerry did in a tournament?
I don't know. I mean, I think he absolutely is the kind of center of attention and can take a game over type. I don't know that he's necessarily sets his mind to it. I mean, I think even if you look at the Clemson game, when he does drive to the basket, he makes it look so easy. There have been games where it feels like he's done it time and again, but I'm not really sure he did that on Tuesday. He settled for the long-range shot a couple of times, which is not his forte. Jerry had a little help, too. We always think about at the end of games, he was there to hit the game-winning shot in that 0-6 run. Judah, to even be in position to, quote-unquote, take it over, is still going to need the support from the rest of the lineup. And as has been well chronicled, it's just not so deep a team that, it could be a bunch of different people. It's got to be a little bit from this core group of 4 or 5 guys aside from Judah that can put him in position. I think Syracuse is capable of beating just about any team in the league. I mean, they have beaten Carolina already. I think, Duke is extremely talented, and that's a tall order, and Clemson has proven to be a difficult matchup. The other teams, they certainly would have a puncher's chance against. I think where I would be a little skeptical about a chance to, say, run the table is, do they have the staying power of doing that on the third day, that kind of thing. I think that is going to be the hardest part for this group.
Yeah, completely agree. Do you think Judah's a first-team All-ACC selection? Do you think he deserves that?
He's got to be right there, I guess. We kind of chatted about that over a meal on the last road trip. And at first you think, well, he plays the same position as R.J. Davis, who's obviously a lock for that. The way they do the voting, I suppose he could pop in there. I mean, everybody knows, like I said, I don't mean a negative connotation about it, but everybody knows Judah. When I'm talking about the center of attention. When he steps on the floor, the other team has game planned for him. The other media has talked about him. Well chronicled here. The officials know who he is. Like, he's like I said, big man on campus kind of thing. And so I guess getting back to your question of first team, like, he doesn't sneak up on anybody. Everybody's going to be aware of him, and he should factor prominently in the voting. I mean, he's up there in scoring, obviously, and leads this team in assists. He's a future pro somewhere. So, would love to see it. We'll have to see how that shakes out here at the end of the week.
Looking at the NCAA tournament picture, I think we would all agree there's 3 teams that are a lock from this conference: Duke and UNC and Clemson. The ACC is dangerously close to only getting 3 teams in, right? Virginia's kind of walking that tightrope right now. Wake just lost a game that they shouldn't have lost. They've put themselves in a tough spot. Pitt is in a tough spot at the moment. At the end of the day, how many do you think get in out of the ACC? Do you think Virginia's a tournament team the way they're playing?
Yeah, that's the problem. They're all just kind of coming back to the pack here at the wrong time of the year. We all know Virginia could get in the tournament and can win games in the tournament, but man, they're not that fun to watch. And when it comes into the eye test and the different types of things, they don't look that great. I firmly believe Wake is a team that could really beat up on somebody in the tournament because they're so skilled and they play hard and they score 80 points a game, but you can't. Apparently, Georgia Tech's better than the bottom end of the ACC is actually better than people are giving it credit. But, Wake, if they are a tournament team, the slipping up to Georgia Tech there at the end of the year didn't look very good. So I don't know. We all know that the committee's going to say that they don't pay any attention to conference affiliations when they put teams in, and that's true. I find it hard to imagine that the ACC could only get 3 in any given year. For me, it'd have to be some sort of awful, either they're really awful or there's just so many other options elsewhere. So I'll believe it when I see it, but it seems to me to be surprising if there's only 3. And again, one of those teams could jump up and get the 4th spot by playing well in DC.
Matt, I don't know if this is a Syracuse-only question, but it appears Syracuse is kind of firmly in the NIT. With the transfer portal this year, how will Power 5 teams be able to keep squads together in order to play in it? And do you think players will opt out of playing in it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think there's enough precedent or track record to know. The timing of it obviously is unfortunate. The portal opens right after the selection. There aren't, programs at this level typically aren't that enthusiastic about the NIT, and who's to say? I think Syracuse is in a tough spot given the NIT related to hosting, and now you're disrupting your lacrosse schedule. There's just a lot of moving parts related to that. And, I think you will definitely, not necessarily here, but I think you'll definitely see opt-outs and that kind of thing. The one thing I will point out is someone putting their name in the transfer portal doesn't necessarily mean they're off the team or they won't play for their team. That's not a rule or anything. That's kind of how coaches handle it. When people opt out of a bowl game, it's because they don't want to get hurt in a more physical, violent game, football than basketball is. I can't say I guess it's worth finding out from Red, and he probably won't talk about it until they get there. I can't say if he would hold it against a guy that indicated he wanted to transfer. Would that person not be welcome to be in the lineup? I don't know. But I don't know either that people are necessarily going to hold themselves out of basketball games for fear of injury because they're marketing themselves as a transfer. But knock on wood, it's just less likely to get injured in a basketball game. But yeah, that adds a little spice to the NIT, and probably not in a good way.
Hard to believe that you're already getting ready for the last Coach Autry show of the season tonight out at Carrabba's. When you look back on this regular season, and I know there's still another chapter or two to be written here with the postseason starting, but when you look back on the regular season, how do you kind of assess what you saw this year in year one under Adrian Autry?
Well, it feels like it flew by. This year, to me, I think this was a really unique balance of personalities and circumstances. I don't recall another year quite like this. And of course, everything changes with the head coaching change. We're so used to Coach Boeheim, the way he operates, the things he says. So any new person coming in was going to be at least somewhat of a departure from that. So everything Red has done all year has been marked against his predecessor, not necessarily with an observation that it's good or bad, just some of the things that he does that are different that people haven't seen. So that's a change. He went from a good cop to the head cop, and that's a big change. You're dealing with different types of personalities. You look at this group, I mean, we could have done a heck of a Netflix behind-the-scenes series with this team. When you think about Benny Williams, Chris Bell, Quadir Copeland, Judah Mintz, that's four right there, just off the top of my head, personalities now, okay? And there's a lot of managing of any roster, but certainly that's what's been dealt with this year. And just, the twists and turns that come about from the season. The injury to, Chance Wester is probably one of the better players on the team. He's injured and out for the year. Naheem McLeod was brought in specifically to address an issue of need in the middle and have some size. He didn't turn out to play that great when he was available, and then he's not available for the second half of the season and most of your conference season. Those are major game changers. And I think to get to 20 wins in the regular season with all of those things considered is quite an achievement. Now, let's see where they go from here. And then I think this offseason is really going to be interesting and important, and that'll be here before you know it.
All right, final Adrian Autry, Coach Autry show tonight out at Carrabba's. Matt, as always, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, and with that, Paulie, are we giving away a gift card?
That's right. You have to go to the show tonight, and they will take $25 off of your meal tonight at Carrabba's. If you would like to go see the final Adrian Autry show, maybe ask him about his game plans, you can do that. 315-437-7644. Caller number 5 right now, and you can go watch the show and have a $25 gift card to enjoy it.
All right. And with that, we'll hit our final timeout. We'll wrap things up next on ESPN Radio.